Bearing in mind what the officers have recommended, I will declare an interest and absent myself from the meeting, so that if it went to appeal or anything of that nature, then there can be nothing inferred from my participation in the discussion.
Thank you. Councillor Patron, any more interest? If not, don't forget you can always say so at the time. Party whipping arrangements? Members of the public, that means we don't club together and vote along party lines. Never have done, and I hope never will. You can never say that to this council. There are no applications withdrawn, deferred or determined under delegated powers. Now we go straight on to application 1, which is in Woodford House, and the number is 0682.
Thanks, Chairman. Just from the location plan, you'll see the site. For those members who may recall previous reports to this committee, the site lies to the south of Woodford Halts. You'll see that the officers also referred to the previous planning history on the adjoining sites and forthcoming enforcement appeals in respect of other uses on the site which were unauthorised or have been the subject of previous decisions of this council. I would ask that members, in considering this particular application, however, should deal with the application on its planning merits and deal with the application as described. It is an application for construction of a replacement barn for storage of hay, straw and stabling of horses, and as such should be considered against the relevant policies and guidance in the development plan. You see the photograph of the existing building is to be replaced, and although the new building will be larger and higher, in our view it's appropriate in the context of its surroundings and use, and accordingly we're recommending the application be approved as we consider it to be in accordance with the development plan policy and the council's adopted guidance on agricultural buildings in the open countryside, which equally applies to stables. Apart from that, Chairman, nothing else to add.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Local member, Councillor Tatchett first, and then who's on the committee, and unless you wish your compadre to go first, Councillor Tatchett.
I think generally, Chairman, I'd like my Deputy Leader, Councillor Griffin, to go first.
Right, Councillor Griffin, ladies first.
Thank you, Chairman. I think, as you will all have read your papers in detail, this is quite a long report. I believe it is a balanced report, and I do appreciate the situation with regard to the other applications that are on appeal. However, I would point out the anxieties of the Woodford Horse Parish Council and Eden Parish Council, and I would also ask, will there be adequate controls relating to this application and to the appeal subjects up to the decisions on the appeals, because clearly there will be activity and one hopes it will be purely equine, but I hope to be reassured that it will be monitored. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Do you want to answer that, Hannah?
I think the simple answer is the application is what the application says it is, which is an equine building, and is judged to be appropriate. We can't foresee what will happen in the future, but we will respond to any queries or complaints about alleged breaches of planning control in respect of the building itself. But as you'll see from the conditions in the report, it sets out quite clearly that the nature of the application is for the use as stated, and the conditions imposed to the materials to be used in the construction of the building, and also tie it to the drawings that are on display presently. Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you, Aaron. Councillor Patchett.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I think I would agree with the officers in that to put a new building on there would be an improvement on what's there now. I think the whole tidying up of the site would be beneficial. I don't have any problem with Mr Taylor having stables and a barn to store hay in agricultural use. So that's all, really, Chairman.
Okay. I can see a hand. Councillor Irving Swift.
Yes, could I have on page 25 at the end, could I have some explanation? Because it says, despite Northamptonshire County Council response of objection to other application or enforcement matter at Slade Lane Farm. So with a new building, because I could not see Northampton County Council having object on that planning application, with that new building, are the objections still standing? Thank you.
Is that a reference to the highway issue?
Yeah.
Yeah, the bottom paragraph of that particular stage, was it the officer didn't consider it necessary to consult the highways authority in this application, as he doesn't believe the effect on roads or traffic safety was an issue for its specific determination. In our view, the proposal doesn't alter the existing status quo. There's an agricultural building there on site at the moment. It's going to be replaced, albeit with a slightly larger building, so the traffic implications are no different. There's no change, material change in the type of traffic visiting the site.
Okay. Any other comments? Councillor Paul?
Thank you, Chairman. Just looking at those photos, I've got concern for the animals, far be it from me, but I'm also drawn to the number of plant vehicles that are dotted around the site. I have reservations as to the end use of the building, but I'm not here to decide on the end use. I'm here to decide on the application and the merits of it going forward. But I would like to have inspections as time goes on to find out that it's being used for the purpose it was intended. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. Councillor Bassett again.
Just one question really. How easy would it be for a change of use application to be made once it was built?
Well, that would be subject to anyone submitting a planning application having to consider on planning merits. Should an application be received, we would consult in the normal way and, if necessary, bring it before committee if it didn't comply with the criteria of the delegations.
Councillor Randall.
Yeah, only just coming back on a comment on page 25. The way it reads is that County Council did have an issue on the road in previous applications. So have they still got an issue, or would they still have an issue if we'd asked them?
Again, I'm going to surmise from the report that the issues previously were in respect of those matters that were the subject of refusals by this council and the subject of the appeals in due course on the enforcement issues, which primarily relate to the comings and goings associated with the unauthorised business use. This application, as I say, is an application for an agricultural building. There's no proposed changes to replace an existing agricultural building. There's no proposed changes to the vehicular access to the site. So in our view, it's not deemed necessary to consult with the highway authority in this particular case.
Councillor Frenchman.
Yes, I'm going to listen to officers' advice to look at this application on its merits. Then I can see no option but to propose approval of officers' advice.
You propose them?
Yes.
Do you have a second? Councillor. If nobody else wishes to speak, although you do wish to
I just wanted to clarify a couple of points, Chairman. As far as I can see, my understanding is that the County Council highways responses to other applications is not applicable here. And the other comment I wish to make is that because of the other ongoing business on this site as regards this authority and others, I think it's quite likely that there will be a number of visits to the site in the near future.
Yeah, that's true. And again, we'll respond to any queries as we do to any alleged breaches of planning control across the district, and we'll investigate.
Thank you. From that application that's been proposed, will we approve it and it's been seconded? All those in favour, please show. 10. Those against? Okay. Next application is, when I find it, should be in Stratton, which is 0683.
Okay, thank you, Chair. You'll see here we've put you up a slide to show the relationship to the village, because that's obviously a fairly important consideration in what's been put in the report. It's a very long, comprehensive report, and I only propose to speak briefly. I can't possibly go through all of this report, and we'll be until quite late on. As you see, it's an outline application. All matters are reserved apart from access, which you'll see on the indicative layout plan. And part of the proposal is to create a parking facility, as you'll see there at the left-hand end of the plan, for staff parking for the school, and also a drop-off facility for people dropping children off at school. Those of you who might be familiar with Stratton will know there are two schools in the centre of Stratton. There's the primary school and there's also Stratton Hall School. And you'll see from the report the vast majority of pupils attend the Stratton Hall School, which is a private school and not immediately adjacent to the site. We have got a site plan, an aerial photo where we can just point out the two schools just so you can get the relationship to them of the two schools. There we go. The Stratton Hall School is up here, at the end here, and this complex and the playing fields, as you can see there. And the other school is down here next to the village hall, and that's immediately accessible from the application site. You'll see on the plan there's a link that goes through at the left-hand end there. Again, if we just go back to the plan. Yeah, it's a pedestrian link that goes through into the school land from that drop-off point. As I say, you'll see in the report there are comments from the parish council who object. There's other various comments from statutory consultees who don't really object, but just suggest conditions. We are waiting still for highway comments. We understand their position is they are not objecting, they don't see any particular issue, and they're very confident anything can be dealt with by way of condition, either on the existing entrance or for any off-site highway works that might be required. So we're not anticipating an objection on highway grounds. You'll also see that the local village is split, so to speak. There's been more letters in support of the proposal than there has been against, and the various reasons for the support are set out there in the report, as are the various reasons for people objecting to it. You'll also see we've done an analysis on policy, and you'll be aware that as we don't have a 5-year housing demand supply, we have to consider the application under paragraph 14 of the NPPF, presumption in favour of development, unless we can demonstrate harm outweighs any benefits of the scheme. And you'll see again in the summary that we've done a planning balance exercise there on that basis, where we've set out in the reasons for refusal and in the conclusion, but we've come to the conclusion that the harm would outweigh the benefits. In terms of the fact that it would result in a loss of open countryside beyond the confines of the village in a special landscape area, which we think harms the setting of the village. There's also been concerns raised about connectivity of the site into the village. And we've also had, as I say, concerns about the general impact on the setting special landscape area. As the village sits on top of the hill, it's very much a hilltop setting, and this site is on rising ground, as you'll see from the photos going back into the village. There are a lot of hedges and trees, as you'll see, and we've tried to take pictures fairly recently when some of the leaves have started to fall off. but you'll see it's near the cemetery, which is on the frontage of the site, but the actual site itself is set back one field behind. Although it does come down to the road, obviously, at the eastern end, where the access would be from the rest of the site is set back and goes back into the village, as you saw. So it does extend quite a long distance and from the actual existing edge of the village, if you like. So that is part of our concern as well. So on that basis, as I say, we've done the plan balance, and our overall conclusion is the harm outweighs the benefits, and it's been recommended for review on that basis, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. We've got two speakers. Mrs. Keeble, Parish Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. During the writing of the Spratton Neighbourhood Plan, currently out for pre-submission consultation, the Parish Council tested community opinion on this proposal as a possible designated site. The results of that survey showed that the community did not support this or any other major application. Spratton Parish Council is therefore pleased to see that the planning officer echoes our concerns of conflict with Daventry Save policies and the key policies of the emerging joint core strategy. More importantly, the planning officer argues, as the Parish Council did, the development is unsustainable per the NPPF due to the proposal's lack of proper integration and social cohesiveness. On top of this is the harm to the valued local landscape and to the distinctiveness of the rural area and of the historic settlement. The pre-submission consultation closes on the 10th of December, after which, by mid to late January, it is expected that our plan will be submitted to your council. Whilst the officer is correct that officially the plan has no weight until then, there have been 2.5 years of consultations, and the will of the people does not support this development. Spratton Parish Council is pleased to see a recommendation which does not undermine its neighbourhood plan's 3-year journey that is now nearing its end. The applicant claims the benefit of a potential new link road to Spratton Hall School. However, you should be aware that the school governors are implacably opposed to this on operational safety grounds. Under the final revision of Policy R1 of the Emerging Joint Core Strategy, the value of village design statements is recognised, and reference to the Spratton Village Design Statement, adopted in May 2013, is made in the officer's report. Our neighbourhood plan will support the policies of our VDS, so should any other arguments be needed to oppose this development, they are contained within our VDS, which we understand now has weight under Policy R1 of the Emerging Joint Core Strategy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Keeble. Mr. Jones, who is the agent?
Come a bit further forward so you can hear me. Thank you. Chairman, members, thank you. I'd first like to deal with the principle of housing land supply. It's recognised by the council and as mentioned by your officers, Daventry does not have a 5-year housing land supply. Spratton represents an appropriate village for accommodating some of the shortfall. It has a good range of facilities for a rural village, including 2 schools, shop, butchers, pub, sports ground, etc. In rural terms, it can be constituted to be sustainable. Concern has been raised more generally about the release of sites in the special landscape area, not just specifically in this site, but in other sites that have been brought before this council. As the designation covers almost 50% of the district and washes over or constrains the majority of large settlements villages, it cannot be a bar to development as a matter of principle where there is a 5-year land supply shortfall. Turning to the specifics of this site, the site was brought forward as one of 2 options being considered as part of the neighbourhood plan. I note the point that the plan has moved forward, but we had 2 or 3 years where there were 2 competing sites, and it's only very recently been a change in tack. The need for a large housing site was principally based on the desire to deliver affordable housing for the community. However, this site also delivers additional facilities, a playground space for the primary school, 6 parking spaces, and a pick-up drop-off area to help mitigate traffic problems at peak times at the front of the school. As a result, the site benefits from the support of the primary school governors and head, as well as some 70 local residents who have written in support of the application. Officers have raised concerns regarding pedestrian links to the village centre, but the proposals would deliver an improved and safer pedestrian route along Brixworth Road. Vehicle speeds will be reduced through highway works and the walking distance is well within the recommended 1 kilometre. Furthermore, the detailed landscape assessment confirms that the proposals can be delivered in a manner that sits comfortably within the village setting, appropriately screened by existing and new native landscaping, as shown by the photographs earlier. And also noting the level of land uses to the north of the site, which don't appear in the OS, but can be seen more clearly in the overhead photograph. On balance, given the benefits in terms of housing delivery, affordable housing delivery, playground space for the school, parking for the school, the drop-off zone for the school, there is no identified harm that, and this is the important point, significantly and demonstrably outweighs the benefits. Therefore, in accordance with the test set out at paragraph 14 of the NPPF, I urge you to permit this application. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Members. Sorry, Cecile, I can't see you. Councillor Irving, you would be better if you went the other side.
Yes, what I will do, I will move. Well, after that, as we all know, it's so difficult for officer to refuse anything, and I read the report, as Mr. Sudsfield said, it's very expensive. So I will propose that we go with officer advice. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder for that? Councillor Chandler. Would you like to speak now, Councillor Chandler?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I would remind members that the weight must be given to the emerging force strategy because it's only one meeting away from adoption, and that the safe policies have been shown in recent appeal decisions to be effective despite the lack of 5-year life because they don't only apply to housing. So I see no reason to go against the officer's advice.
Thank you, Councillor Chandler. Any other comments? Councillor Hatchett.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Well, I think it's a great shame, really, that little sites or smaller sites like this in villages could well be sustainable if they were in the right place and had the right amount of benefits. I mean, I'd much personally rather see little sites like this rather than the big 125, 150 numbered housing. You know, sadly, for me, I think the officer is right, and I think the parish council really don't want it either, and the community don't want it. That's that.
Thank you, Councillor Hatchett. Councillor Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I do have concerns in particular, you know, that there are a number of carrots being dangled. I don't accept that the benefits outweigh, quite the reverse, quite frankly. I'm happy to go with officers' advice.
Thank you. If no one else wishes to speak, can we go to the vote? We have a proposal that officers are advised to refuse. It's been proposed and seconded. All those in favour, please show. 8. Those against? Abstentions? 2. Okay. So the application is refused for the given reasons. Oh yeah, could somebody get the Vice Chairman back here?
Leave him out there.
Leave back though? Yeah, okay.
For a shorter evening.
Right, we will continue. The next application is in Clipston 0790.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Westminster Close, Clipstone, basically a cul-de-sac of bungalows, I think pretty well, see from the photograph. Proposal is to demolish that large bungalow at the end and replace it with 2 1.5 stories, but they'll effectively pretty well give the same aspect when you view it out on the street. That's a tree at the back of the site. These are 2 new houses that were built using the same entrance drive. It used to be the garden of the large bungalow, and these 2 properties got built on the right-hand side as you go in up the drive, and the proposal now is to demolish the bungalow that's on the left-hand side, which that's half of it, and that's the other half. And so there is a street view that shows you it at the end anyway. So all that you see across the end of the street is 1 bungalow. So that's going to be replaced with 2, and we've got an indicative planning officer responsible for this story. So I know it's not the best quality, but we just want to demonstrate how it will look in the street scene in terms of bridge height when we get to it. That's how it's going to appear on the plan. That's how it is now. It's like a single thing. That's the one. We just try to give you an indicative plan there to a street scene. So the dwelling on the right is one of the new dwellings that you saw in the photograph, and then the other one, the other 2 replace the bungalow, which is shown as a dotted line there. So the ridge heights are going to be kept about the same as the existing. So what you'll see now looking down the end of the street is that instead of what you saw in the photo. And we also had a plan that just showed you how the plots subdivided in relation to the plots. Now one thing I know about Westby's Close is they've got very short gardens, as you can see there, very tiny plots. So to be fair, I don't think when you look at that aerial photo, despite the concerns of the parish council, that it's going to be out of character with the locality. So on that basis, Chairman, we've recommended it for approval.
Thank you, Keith. Councillor Irving-Swift, local member.
Yes, I know the close quite well, and because the applicant has modified with the new plan, I do not really see any cause, and I will agree with the officer. Just one thing, at the end, because it's a small clause and with, I would like to have hour of business so that it's, they cannot do whenever they want, and no construction on Saturday. If that could be added, that would be great.
Condition basically.
Yeah, but otherwise, I agree with officer advice, and the bungalow are pretty much in keeping with the rest of the clause. I couldn't see really the objection of the parish on that case. It's very rare that but sometimes I keep an open mind, as you know, and in that case, I think the officer is right. Thank you.
Is that a proposal, Councillor?
Yes, please, with an addition of our...
With the addition of the constructor's time?
Yeah.
Okay, do you have a seconder? The Vice Chairman, seconding. Councillor Fletcher. Do you wish to say anything?
No.
You agree?
Yeah.
Anybody else wish to say something? You do indeed. Yes, Councillor.
Yeah.
Sorry, I do beg your pardon. I should have said Councillor Randall first.
No, thank you. When it's an outline application, it's for 1.5 storey dwellings. Is it going to stay as 1.5 stories?
Well, the Commission will say 1.5 stories, so if it goes to 2 story, I think we'll be saying that's a new application. That won't be as a non-material or even a material amendment, really. It'd have to be a new application.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Councillor Barrett?
Thank you, Chairman. Very briefly, I'm not a ward member for this, but I do know the area very well, having worked there in the school for quite some years, a while ago. So I do know Westcoast Close. I think this, the point about this application, it is in scale, in my opinion, especially regarding the height of the building, which I looked at quite carefully. I do feel that it's not going to be oppressive at all in that particular area. The resultant properties, whilst they may be small, I think they're not inappropriate and certainly not oppressive at all. As far as the street scene is concerned, at the moment, I would have no problems in supporting the application. Of course, I remain flexible until I hear all the arguments.
Thank you. Councillor Evans-Swift, you wish to come back?
Yes, in that clause now, a lot of people have put dormer windows in their roof. So I don't think it's in fact, the bungalow at the end is much larger than all the others. So, and because it will be smaller houses, and that is what Tipston need too. So all in all, I think to replace one big bungalow by two smaller, it's not a bad idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor
I was
Richard.
just going to say, Chairman, I think the thing for me is when you look at that photograph at the end of the cul-de-sac, because there's that copper coloured tree, well, it looks like two houses anyway.
Yeah, there's the drawing.
You wouldn't know, you wouldn't know that was one house unless you've
No,
gone.
no.
Okay, we've got a proposal the application be approved, which has been seconded. All those in agreement, please show. Okay, done. Thank you. Nobody against? No abstentions this time. That's unanimous. Thank you. The application is approved.
With a modification.
With that condition, yes.
Thank you.
And the very next village in Naisby 0817.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. We're actually on the Formby Road this time rather than Posting Road, which is the other end of the village. But this is quite a simple one, to be honest. We originally gave planning permission for 5 dwellings to be served off a single private drive. And as you'll see from the approved layout, it's going to be fairly tortuous routes to get down to the ends 2 dwellings. And this is now an application to put in a separate private drive serving 2 end dwellings, which we think is actually probably going to be, sorry about this, it's a bit slow tonight. We think is actually going to probably be a better arrangement. It's not very good quality, is it? Yeah.
That shows it.
Can we kind of zoom in on? Yeah, that's the approved. I think that's the originally approved. I'm just looking at the other one because you can't really see the outlines, aren't you? That's it. Anyway, that was the originally approved scheme, and I say it's a single point of access. As you can see, coming down to the south, you've got quite a long, tortuous route, past 3 houses to get into the 4th house. And now what's been proposed if we slide it over, just slide it across. You can see now, although the other one's whited out, they want to, it's not really good. They want to put in a separate entrance anyway in there to serve the 2 end houses. They also want to change it. Yeah, I was going to say, probably sheds better on the other one, because I think the only one they're already drag it across. That's it. Shows us a little bit better. Yeah, it's on the screen better actually. It's worse on our screen. Anyway, you get the gist of it. They want to change it to the house types that they've already had approved and put a new entrance across there. And the minor reason it's come to committee is because the parish council's objected. They think it will result in more vehicles using the single track carriageway, predominantly used by walkers, with and without dogs and horse riders as well. Personally don't agree with that because it's still the same number of houses. They're concerned about residents in the property opposite will suffer nuisance from car headlights. Well, again, as I think it said in the report, perhaps they might want to draw the curtains if that's an issue to them. Dark evenings, but I mean, I don't think it's a planning reason of refusal. So on that basis, we've recommended it for approval.
Thank you. We have a speaker. Mr. Howard is the acting.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the committee. Yes. My name is Andrew Howard, I'm the agent for this application. The reason for speaking is that the applicant is Haynes & Sons, and our local family-run business, builders second generation, I think. My concern was the parish council's comments that access had been put in prematurely and that this was a retrospective application and that was somewhat presumptive. I just wanted to try and reassure people that that wasn't the case. There is a temporary access formed approximately where that position is, but it's not in exactly the same place. That was put in to facilitate the development in terms of getting materials in and out more safely than the single access, which was giving some difficulties. And it was as a result of that temporary access that we put in there that we felt that if that was incorporated into the final development, it would improve the overall scheme by easing pressure on the single access that was there. Before we cut the temporary access through for the deliveries, we checked with highways on the safety issues and any concerns that they would have. informally, admittedly, because it was only temporary. And they didn't have any issues with it, so that's what we put in. Then we had the inspiration to make the planning application. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Irving-Swift, I can see you this time.
Yes.
Local member again.
I have 3 applications tonight, so I can see the point of the parish on that one, but I don't think we have a planning reason. Nevertheless, I might have a try. The problem is when the development was accepted, it was accepted with that road. So now to say that wasn't optimal and so on, it could have been thought in the first place, not. But it's a very narrow road, and as you, for the people who do not know Nesby, it's a road that opposite quite a development has taken place, and we approved that development, I think, last year or 2 years ago in planning. So therefore, not far away of that, yes, just there, you have quite a lot of car already going out, exiting that road. So I do think that, strangely enough, another 2 houses is maybe too much, because on that little road you will have, I think, 5 or 6 opposite houses, just near the opposite hand side, plus 2 others. So you have 7, and plus 2, where on the existing application they go on to the roundabout, or what I call the roundabout. It's not a roundabout, but it might become a roundabout, because as you know, 2 months ago we agree on planning a big application of 30 houses just above. It's not shown on the map, it's quite difficult, but could you please show where the big application is going to? There. You have 30 houses. So I do think that to accept this new access for 2 houses is not the optimal position, but I don't know how, on planning ground, how we think. So I am waiting for other councillors to see if they see it the same way and if they have a good reason. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Irving-Swift. Keith, you'd like to respond to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, well, obviously, the first thing is the Highway Authority have got no objection. So I think you're going to struggle really if you're seriously looking for a planning reason to refuse it. There isn't any increase in the number of houses. 5 have already been approved. It's just the access that's different. And obviously, there'll be nothing to stop those vehicles, if they use the access as it was approved, driving down that road anyway. I mean, I don't obviously live near Naseby at all, but in my experience, that road isn't a very busy road compared to all the other roads in the village. That's all I'll say.
No, it is now. It's a use that is much
having said that,
used.
Naseby is a classic example of a route focus where there's lots of routes coming in from surrounding areas and they all focus on the village. So maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but as I say, Highway Authority don't object. In terms of the entrance to the other site, I mean, a lot of it was going in off existing entrances as well, with the existing cul-de-sac, if you remember. There was some discussion about the footpath, if I recall, where the footpath came out. They were also going in off the existing factory entrance, which goes in higher up off the high street. But I say the number of houses has already been approved anyway, so who's to say those vehicles may or may not drive down that road in any event. It's just, I think, as the gentleman who spoke said, they've actually got a temporary access there now because it was safer to get the materials in that way. That seems to me to be a pretty good reason for having it there permanently, to be quite honest.
Thank you. Councillor Edmund.
Thank you, Chairman. I think Mr Thursday has gone over most of the things I was going to say. I don't have a problem with this at all. I like the idea as well of changing the houses to match the others. As far as it goes, I'd like to propose we follow this advice.
Thank you. Do you have a second? Councillor Paul. Would you wish to speak, Councillor Paul?
No, I like the design, the layout. I think 2 entrances are better than 1.
Thank you.
totally agree with officers.
Thank you. Councillor Amy Swift, you want to come back?
Yes, I would like to come back. You might like the idea, but you are talking about country lane. And you do not realise, but one is higher than the other, so the road is not flat. I mean, on opposite, you must have, the houses are 2 meters higher. If you opposite a bit farther, you know, it's not a flat road. So it is a dangerous road. Whatever people say, it's a very narrow road, and I take it quite often. So I can see, but when people say, look at the narrowness of the road, and you have, it doesn't look very high, but it's much higher than you think. I would say it's 1.5 meter on the other side. So you don't have a lot of turning maneuver, where in the other, it's a normal road. I think if you see it yourself, you will not see it as big as it is. That's all what I want to say.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, Councillor Chubb.
It is a dangerous road, but the danger isn't there. It's further along the road where it meets the 519.
Thank you. Right, we've got a proposal the application be approved, which has been seconded. All those in favour, please show. Those against?
Can I register, please?
Sorry?
Can I register my
Register, yes,
my
you
vote,
can.
please?
You can. It will be registered that you voted against.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, the application's approved. Well, the next one's not in your bid.
Well, but after I have.
0826, and it's in Hamilton.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Just in case members might be wondering why this is come to committee, given the views of the parish council, the applicants are members of the parish council. So we thought, just doing all above board, we better bring it before the committee. As you'll see, the proposal is for siting of a mobile home for grooms accommodation. You'll see it set out in the report about the circumstances to the business, the fact that they do own property very nearby, but that unfortunately the lady who was the main runner of the business had an accident, and she's now unable to carry out some of the duties. She's now only doing admin work rather than physical work. And consequently they employed a groom at the nearest place they could get. They could afford us to rent a property in Pittsford, which is obviously quite a long way from Paddington. And we've sent the proposal plus the functional requirements as well as some financial information to our agricultural consultant, and they've come back and they've said they're in support of the proposal. So on that basis, we've recommended it for approval, Chairman. It's a temporary. It is for 5 years in this instance. We normally give 3, but I think we're thinking in this case we'll give 5 because it doesn't seem to us the situation is going to change significantly in 3 years. So we're just giving them a little bit longer, I suppose. And also that it would be restricted to the occupancy of the person solely or mainly working as a groom for the livery business. And obviously, should that situation change, because it's a mobile home, it can be removed from the site, and we won't be forced with an application to remove the occupancy condition, which is what normally happens if it's a permanent dwelling. So I think we're fairly satisfied that we've got safeguards. There were 1 or 2 comments in the library. Somebody in the village said he doesn't really feel it's necessary. But I think our view is, well, if the agricultural consultant who we employ to give us advice says it's acceptable, we'd be daft not to take his advice, really. So on that basis, we recommend approval. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Local member? We don't have one for Harington, do we? Not on the committee, so members.
Sorry, I propose that we go with officer advice.
You're proposing that?
Yeah.
Thank you. First of all, do we have a seconder? Okay. We'll have you, Councillor Chandler. Would you like to say something or not?
No.
Right, that's quick then. Councillor Frenchman, you put your hand, you don't want to say anything. No. There's some more hands behind you, I can't. Was it Councillor Luke or Councillor Randall or Councillor?
It was me.
All right, Councillor
No,
Randall.
I'm happy with the proposal, Chairman.
Okay. If nobody else wishes to speak, we have a proposal that the application be approved as per officer's advice, which has been seconded. Will you show your support or not? That's unanimous. Is it? No, there's one missing.
No, I think it was the Chairman.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, it is.
Okay. Thank you, members. The application is approved. Back to Irving Swift's land, 0841 in Welford.
Thanks, Chairman. The application site sits within the confines of the village of Welford. As you can see on the location plan, it's a substantial building with outbuildings in a substantial plot. It's not listed, nor does it lie in a conservation area. That said, it's quite a nice building. The application, as you'll see from the description, comprises two elements. The first is primarily alterations to the front edge of the block, namely the removal of a conifer hedge and its replacement with a brick wall and detached garage. For those of you who know Welford, the High Street in particular is characterised by a quite tightly enclosed sense of enclosure along pretty much its entire length, with either buildings or walls at back edge of pavement. In our view, this element of the application reinforces, to some extent, repeats or reflects that particular character. As a result, we judge that to be acceptable. The other element is in respect of alterations to the rear involving the demolition of what is a rather grand chicken coop that describes the chicken coop. It's a brick-built outbuilding. That has been replaced by a single-storey extension, as you see there, of a modern design. So as such, it doesn't attempt to be a pastiche of the existing building. It's modern, contemporary, and is seen as completely separate from the existing building. In terms of public amenity, it's not readily visible from outside of the site. Doesn't impact on the immunity of neighbouring properties because of existing outbuildings along the northern boundary, and there's sufficient space around it to afford reasonable immunity to the building itself. And again, accordingly, we recommend that application, that part of the application is acceptable. In summary, both the garage and the walls at the front and the extension to the rear are acceptable forms of development, and we recommend the application be approved, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Irving Swift.
Yes, I read what the parish said, and I do think that what they would have loved if the garage put 95 degrees, but I do think with what we have in front of us, it would be nicer for the highway of the high street in Welford. And after, the parish did object for the design of the back of the house. Unfortunately, yes, it's modern. Some people will love it, some people will not love it. I do rather like the old chicken coop, but the owner of the house would like something a bit more modern. I think I have nothing to add, but propose officer advice. And I have a look if you have condition, because with the high street in Welford being very congested, I would like to have condition for delivering and also all the condition due to the work being done. Thank you so much.
So you're proposing we support officer's advice with a condition similar to what the other one about Saturday and Okay. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Frenchman, you wish to speak, Councillor Frenchman?
Yeah, just to the point that while it's not to my taste, it's not for us to really impose our taste on other people's building designs, especially at the back where it can't be seen.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, we have a proposal that the application be approved and seconded.
So is anyone coming back from that
Sorry.
condition?
Do I beg your pardon?
I mean, again, as I'm understanding it, members want to impose conditional delivery. Is that during construction?
Yes,
Could
please.
the member advise what exactly what that entails? Because as you'll see, the site has an in and out accesses, so vehicles can park clear of the highway. It is a public highway with no parking restrictions on it, as I recall,
No.
apart from the speed limit. So I'd call into question whether or not that condition indeed is necessary, and more importantly, whether such a condition would be enforceable. And if it's not necessary and not enforceable, it doesn't meet the tests for such a condition.
Well, my problem for people who know Welford, that house, as you say, is my only concern is just after the band, and if you have big lorry just sitting there at very 7:30 in the morning, or I find, well, or just ask the builder to be minded of being respectful of all the neighbours. That because Welford is one of those villages, the high street is a major problem. So I just would like, because it will, with the building of the wall and all that, it will need a few big deliveries. So that's all.
Keith, you want to make your
Yeah, I'm just getting a bit concerned, to be honest, Chairman, that we're starting to put this condition on every single planning application. I mean, if we're starting to put it on extensions, where's it all going to end? I mean, I agree with David, really. Is it necessary? Well, you put it on the Clipston one.
Yeah.
I was a bit iffy about that, but I let it go. But I think if we're going to start putting it on extensions and alterations to everybody's house, I mean, really, what this should be for is, mind your development schemes, and there's also the Control of Pollution Act anyway, whereas if they're being disturbed, I can complain to the environmental health officers and they'll look into any complaint. What we could do is we could just add a note onto that decision, and I think that would probably be better if we just put it onto the note.
You're happy with that, Councillor?
Yes. And then could we, because can they work on a Saturday? Because that causes a lot of problem in the village. So if Saturday non-working, that would be helpful for the village.
Well, I think unless there's a good reason not to, in other words, they're causing a nuisance to their neighbour, they can probably work on a Saturday and a Sunday. But obviously, it depends what's going on, doesn't it?
Yes.
I mean, obviously with an extension, they're going to be working inside the house for a lot of the time, at the back of the house.
It's just because, as you know, that is always in villages, the noise at weekend, it's always, we have problem after the weekends. That's all what I said. I'm sure the owner will not, will be minded of that. That's all.
Having said that, though, it's not exactly a cul-de-sac there, it's the main road through the centre of the village. There's going to be a certain amount of noise and disturbance from vehicles going past it all day long and all hours of the day and night, really.
Okay, so you're happy that a note
Yes.
is given? Yes.
I
Okay.
am.
Just a note, no conditions, just a note.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a proposal that's been seconded, the application be approved. All those in favour, please show. 11. Okay, there's nobody against because that's unanimous, yeah. Okay, the application is approved. Next application is in Crick, 0863.
So the debate carries on, Chairman. This is an application not for development. The development has been approved. So we're not being asked to change the development in any way. It's currently under construction. And it is subject to a number of conditions, one including a construction management condition. Can you just give it on an application plan, please? Just slide it up slightly. For those members who are in planning committee who are aware of this application at the time, it was a fairly contentious application, but approved ultimately with conditions, including one which required a construction management programme to be established. The primary purpose of that was to afford a degree of mitigation, again, striking a balance between allowing development that has planning permission to be carried out, whilst seeking to mitigate construction works on the immunity of neighbouring properties. You'll see that the site itself is quite a dense residential, existing long-established residential area. The access routes into the site are through existing estate roads. For those of you who remember the site, at the time we did approach the Highway Authority to seek a view as to whether or not the site could be accessed directly off the bypass, the A428, just to the north. However, the Highway Authority did not allow for that access, with the result that construction traffic had to go through the existing estate. The construction management scheme at that time imposed a no working on a Saturday restriction, and that was agreed with the developers. And to be fair, the early part of development of the site, particularly with extremely heavy plant coming in and out of the site, for earth moving, construction of drainage, sewage, etc., that was deemed to be an acceptable and reasonable approach in those particular circumstances. However, things have moved on. The site continues to be under construction. Most of that heavy work has been carried out, with the result that we're now into construction of dwellings and the fitting out of dwellings. And there's an acknowledgement that there's clearly going to be nuisance, etc., to existing residents throughout the course of construction. But the current arrangements allow for working during the week, but with no Saturday working. As a result of complaints about Saturday working, and you'll see the report refers to it, this application was submitted to regularise and allow for Saturday morning working, but acknowledging the concerns of local residents, particularly those in Coleman Close. Can you just go to the photographs, please? Coleman Close, effectively a small cul-de-sac prior to the development. And the next photograph, that's just go back to the first. Yeah. That's Coleman Close, which is a very narrow modern estate. It was a cul-de-sac at the time, but as a result of the approved development, which effectively extended the cul-de-sac, construction traffic goes through there during the week, and I have every sympathy with the residents who live on that close. I would acknowledge that during Saturdays it would be preferable that the construction traffic or staff traffic don't use it, primarily because on Saturdays most people are at home, etc., but that access to the site be afforded via fallow fields. You'll see from the late representations that the applicants have taken on board the comments and the recommendation, and are confirming that there will be no deliveries on Saturdays. The Coleman Close will stay locked, and the fallow fields entrance will be used on Saturdays for tradesmen to enter the site and to use the parking within the plot itself. You'll also see from the report that consultation has been carried out with the Council's Environmental Health Officer, with no objections are raised. Accordingly, Chairman, we're recommending that the condition be amended to afford Saturday working with the stipulations already set out. Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you, Ian. Two speakers. Mr. Kenshaw is against the application. I beg your pardon, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members. I am opposed to this variation in the planning conditions on three reasons. One is safety, the second being the regulations and rules that have already been in place have been flagrantly disregarded, and also the residents and the respect for the residents. But just as I've mentioned there, the work on the site has been going on Saturdays almost exclusively. We've had maybe 2 or 3 Saturdays off since the development's begun, and access has been allowed through Coleman Close. I, unfortunately, at the moment live on Coleman Close. We're getting deliveries from 6:30 in the morning. We're getting tradesmen turning up at 6:30 in the morning. So we're already subject to over 50 plus hours of traffic past the house each week if they stick to the current regulations. As I say, there's been flagrant disregard for the hours already and working on Saturdays. Another note there is that we were directly lied to by David Wilson, the developers, who said that they had already got access to work on Saturdays and that out of respect for the residents they would try and keep that to a minimum. That's clearly not the case at all. We are getting very much, now the weather's getting bad, we're getting very much dirty roads. The street cleaning's not enough as it is. If we then get that on a Saturday as well, we've got the additional noise of the street sweeper, and I would take issue with what Mr McDowell's just said. The construction traffic and the frequency of the traffic has not diminished at all over the last 3 to 6 months. If anything, it's increased through Coleman Close, because as you'll see from the pictures there, it's actually a shorter route into the site from the main road in the village. We'd just like our weekends back. We've already been disrupted enough during the week and into the early hours of the evening and very, very early morning. And we'd like our weekends to stay as our weekends, and also that the conditions already imposed are actually policed and enforced. Thank you, Mr Chairman.
Thank you, Mr Kershaw. Mrs Whitehead, the agent.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Claire Whitehead and I am a planner at David Wilson Homes. I would like to thank the case officer for his willingness to engage during the course of the application. Through discussions with the case officer, David Wilson Homes now proposes keeping Monday to Friday hours as previously agreed and changing the Saturday hours so contractors can work from 8 AM until 1 PM, again with no working on Sundays or bank holidays. We are also willing to accept a condition restricting deliveries to weekdays only to reduce any inconvenience to existing residents. The work being undertaken on a Saturday is largely internal and it includes painting, plastering, carpentry, wall tiling and scaffolding adjustments. The majority of traffic to and from the site on a Saturday does consist of tradesmen and the construction workers who are instructed to park within the site. All trades will be entering the site via paddock fields on a Saturday from now on, as Coleman Close will be closed. Also, the location of the forklift has recently been changed. It will be stored at the very north of the site and serve plots from the top of the site rather than next to existing properties, as has happened previously, to reduce noise and disruption to neighbours. It is noted in the officer's report that the Environmental Protection Officer has responded to nuisance complaints, but to date has not found any breaches of the relevant regulations on the control of pollution, which includes noise. David Wilson Homes are conscious of the impact of new developments during the construction phases on existing communities. In light of this, we have taken a number of steps to try and minimise any disruption. This has included the provision of signs within the residential area directing construction traffic. Traffic is not allowed through the village. Roads are swept on a regular basis, but I do take the point that Mr Kershaw has made and I'll request that this is increased. A banksman has also been employed to direct traffic through the site and deliveries are arranged to avoid school times to reduce the congestion and disruption. Finally, the site is also registered under the Considerate Contractor Scheme. This is independently monitored and inspects the site. The site is now at quite an advanced stage, with the majority of the heavy work largely having been carried out. This includes earth moving and road construction. Okay. We are keen to progress completions and be off-site as soon as possible. By allowing the Saturday working, we'd be able to enable the contractors to complete more work and would significantly contribute to progressing the completion of the authorised development. Conditions on residential sites do usually restrict working hours, but they do often allow them on a Saturday morning, and this does include a number of sites throughout Daventry district. It is inevitable that construction traffic from working on site will cause some disruption to existing residents, but I do hope that members can understand that we have taken steps to try and address these concerns and will continue to try and minimise any issues where possible. In summary, I politely request you support the officer's recommendation to approve the application. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Ms Whitehead. That did 3 minutes. There is no local member here. Councillor Irving-Swift.
My problem is how long do we have that? Because if they are in advanced stages and we are just at plasterer and carpenter and so on, because I think during our site visit of the district we saw that site. So my problem is how
how long will we are talking about? Is that 3 months, 4 months? And if it's 3 months, I will say because it's the winter, the beginning is 7:30, so I will put it at 8 or 8:30, because 7:30 on Saturday morning, I think it's a bit early. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Randall next.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I've got concerns about the change of time, actually, because when you've got that day in, day out, and then extending to another day, and it goes on for months and months and months, it's all right if it's not in the middle of a housing, but when you're just driving past it, I've got
Thank you. Councillor Frenchman.
Yes, it appears clear to me, listening to what the agent has said, that David Wilson have condoned or even encouraged Saturday working, and that's certainly in contravention of the conditions that are currently on site. And I think that as that has been established, that there should be some form of, not retribution, or I don't know, punishment for flagrantly violating that condition. As regards this particular one, I too share concerns about the timing, though I guess that if I was a resident at the end of my tether, I'd want them not to work ever again. But I'm sure that if they were able to work Saturdays, it will get them out of the residents' hair a lot quicker than if they didn't. But perhaps at slightly more amenable times, bearing in mind they're being disturbed all day, every day, at a very rotten time.
Yes.
Into something again.
Yes, rotten, horrible time.
Councillor Ed next.
Thank you, Chairman. Basically, a question. Could we please be told the hours again, because there seems to be 3 different sets of hours.
Yes.
You want to clarify that, officers?
Yeah, well, basically, the current arrangements are Mondays to Fridays. From recollection, the existing construction management programme states from 8 till 6.
Yeah.
The application is seeking 7:30 till 5. There currently is no formal agreement on Saturday working. The current application is seeking Saturday working from 8 till 1.
8 to 1 on Saturday.
Clearly, we don't like builders building, particularly at the weekends, it's distortion. But ultimately, the job of the planning committee is to approve development. The development has to construct it, and that inevitably involves disturbance to those existing residents. I have every sympathy with the residents on Fallowfields and Coleman Close, but ultimately, provided the permission is being implemented lawfully, we have to allow the development to continue. That said, the condition imposed on construction management is to try and strike a balance between that. Members, legitimately, having heard concerns of local residents, can refuse to vary the condition. That leaves the existing hours as they are. Construction work will continue in accordance with the construction management plan. If there are breaches on Saturday morning working, we would have to investigate those and decide whether or not there's an expediency issue in terms of enforcement. Bearing in mind all of that entails or allows for the appellant to appeal such decisions, etc. But what won't happen is that the permission exists for those dwellings. Construction will continue to happen. It's really whether or not members wish to sway with the sides of the residents in terms of wanting to maintain their Saturdays, to keep their Saturdays, and allow the application to progress in accordance with the approved drawing.
Thank you. Another question, Councillor Adam?
Sorry.
Yeah,
I've got you to.
I'm sorry, why I was querying it was the Monday to Friday thing. The advice at the end is different to their condition, and then what they've sent through as lay representation is at a different time again. We've got 3 different times.
So before we go any further, and there's quite a few people wish to speak, I'll read out the list in a minute. We'll get clarification from the officers which are the correct times.
Well, as I've indicated, the existing times are 8 till 6 o'clock at the moment, with 8 o'clock being sought till 1 o'clock on Saturdays. With the addition of Saturdays working 8 till 1.
So it's 8 till 6.
Okay, does that clarify that point? Right, now I'll read out the list so you don't keep putting your hands up. I've got Councillor Paul, followed by Councillor Luke, followed by Councillor Randall, followed by Councillor Irving Swift, and then Councillor Patchett, okay? And we've just got another one. Councillor Parker. Okay, so the next person is Councillor Paul.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm looking at that traffic management plan. I think it would have been useful if that had been circulated to members of the committee instead of me sitting there straining my eyes. That's one pan. Also, looking at the picture, thank you, Maria. You know that I'm old and wrinkly.
True.
I'm looking at the photo going onto the site past the vehicle with Caterpillar tracks, that one there. Am I correct in saying there's no tyre washing management system on and off the site? You know, the road looks filthy. I know that it's part and parcel of a development, but nevertheless, I'm surprised that wasn't there at the outset. The agent has said the site is at an advanced stage. Well, if we're at this advanced stage, what is the necessity to work on Saturdays, because we're at this advanced stage? I have an empathy with the local residents, not just those that are adjacent to the site, but those detailed on the traffic plans. Construction vehicles, we get enough. When in situ, we have enough complaints about dust carts coming up our turning at 7:30 in the morning. Now that's just not in my turning, that's virtually every turning in the district. But we know that they're coming, and if we want our dustbins empty, we have to put up with it. That is not the case on this site. It is not necessary for vehicles or heavy plant to enter the site. Yes, I accept that some tradesmen could go in on a Saturday if it's an exception to the rule. I certainly don't accept that it's necessary with a site that is supposedly at an advanced stage. For those reasons, I can't accept the recommendations, Chairman.
I'm going to quickly ask, and just for a few words only from the agent, what do you consider is an advanced stage?
It was basically to clarify that the major infrastructure is in. So the earthworks and
The roads are in?
Yeah, which would require the majority of plant equipment and HGVs.
Okay, thank you.
So if we have an advanced stage, Chairman, if I could come back, which is only the roads.
Well, that's what developers do, like the Longbutley one. They put all the infrastructure in.
Yes, I'm happy that they put the roads in, but houses are made of something. You know, they're made of bricks and mortar and timber, and that's a lot of vehicles to go in and out of that site.
Chairman, can I come back? There are quite a number of houses constructed on the site. Some are occupied, some are near ready for occupation, some are currently under construction. I can't give you a total number of the dwellings currently completed, but they're, in that sense, it's house building that's going on. Yes, there are vehicles that will deliver and will continue to deliver onto the existing construction management scheme to actually implement the approved development. That will happen during the week. The applicant indicated that no deliveries will take place on Saturdays. But you're perfectly entitled to come to a view if you so wish not to agree to vary the condition. With that comes the entitlement of the applicant to lodge an appeal against that, or simply to forgo any further variations and continue to carry out the construction in accordance with all agreements inside of the council today.
Thank you.
Well, I thank our officer for clarifying the interpretation of advance, which is somewhat different to the agent who said that the roads are in, and clearly there is a conflict there. But I'm happy, Chairman. Thank you.
I thought they both said the same, actually.
To clarify, Councillor Paul, they're completed houses at the end?
Sorry?
The houses at the end are completed.
That photographs of Falcons shows a number of houses at the bottom end of the site.
Okay, Councillor Luke.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm quite surprised that if they have been working on a Saturday, there have been some complaints about it. So obviously the people have been prepared to. Well, why wasn't any action taken to stop it on Saturday? Or is that the
They
reason
did
for
say in
this?
the report that some officers did look at it. And,
Again, through you, Chairman, that's the reason why we've got this application, because it was investigated and an application was submitted to amend the construction management programme. Clearly, if members refuse this application this evening and works continue on a Saturday and we receive complaints, they will be investigated, at which point the council will have to decide on the expediency of whether or not to enforce against those breaches.
If I might add through you, Chairman, there's also statutory nuisance regulations around environmental health. So that's a possibility outside of planning, and it's my understanding that there's been no breaches of that to date to take action.
Thank you, Chair. Well, right, so action has been taken and will be if we don't agree tonight. I really think we should agree to Saturday working. It's not lasting forever. I know it's not very nice while it's going on, but actually I've just done Saturday and Sunday working outside in my house to put electricity in for Middlemore. It's noisy, but you have to put up with it because these things have to happen. And I think it will be better for the people on the site because it will make the work quicker and clear the site for them, perhaps before the summer even, I don't know when the end is envisaged. But I really think we should be happy that the houses are being built because we desperately need them. We should be happy that people have got jobs to work at and they can earn a decent living wage. So all in all, I think we have to accept that we have to put up with some inconveniences sometime and hopefully it can be kept to a minimum with all the conditions put in. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Randall.
Yeah, thank you. To extend the hours when we're going into the winter, 7:30 it's dark, and 5 o'clock it's dark, so I don't know what work they're going to be doing on that site anyway. It would have made more sense to me to have winter and summer hours, but you know, I'd sooner the hours stay as they were.
Thank you. Councillor Wingsworth.
Yes, we had a very good summer, a bit wet, but we had a very good summer. So if Wilson could not cope with the hours as they were, they should have come before today to try to. So I think they haven't been very kind to the people who live in the place before them. And I feel we have the underdog here who say, just please, we want the weekend off. And we should give them, it's Christmas coming, so let them have their Saturday and Sunday and keep the conditions as they were and not variation. So that is my proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Patchett.
I'll second the proposal. This is the other proposal, that we refuse the application.
Reasons?
That the condition imposed at the beginning of the construction were reasonable, and we don't, it was imposed at the beginning.
For the reasons of public domain.
Yeah.
Is that a reason, gentlemen?
Residential community is a perfectly legitimate concern which we all find consideration.
Right. Next speaker is Councillor Parker.
I just want to say that if the original timings was 8 till 6, then that's what we should be sticking to. That's it. That's what's written down, and that's what should be adhered to. If people are working outside of those hours, it's an abuse of that, and action should be taken. And it's just that simple. Whether anyone likes the hours or not is a different thing. That's what was agreed. Otherwise, what is the point of putting these things down? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
But I have to say, there is a system whereby if it's found that something is not working as per given planning permission, the applicant has the right to pull in a planning application. There is nothing wrong with that. They have that right to put in a planning application, which is what they have done. So they're doing nothing wrong.
Well, I would differ, Mr. Chairman. Mine's quite simple. It says 8 till 6. They've worked Saturdays, fragrantly abused those hours. I just don't understand it. What is the point of it? If it's written down, that to me is a contract between you're saying something different.
That is the planning system,
I'm
unfortunately.
sure it is, and that's perhaps where we are. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Keith?
Well, yeah, I can't really sign on what you said, really, Chair. You put a condition on it. Obviously, has to pass 6 tests, and I guess that's the acid test, really. The developer can apply to have it varied, and really, he can be judged against those 6 tests, really, as to whether any refusal to vary it is going to stand up to that scrutiny. If you're telling me, no, you don't want to vary it, you still think it meets the 6 tests, then I guess that's your answer, really.
Okay, we've got a proposal that the application be refused for the given reason, which has been seconded. All those in agreement, please show. Those against? 8-3. The application is refused for the given reason. But don't forget, under the planning system, the applicant can appeal as well. Councillor Daventry?
Chairman, it's not that, but as we always say, when it's noise and things, unfortunately, when the weekend is passed, the people object after, and the damage is done. That is a problem.
But that is the planning system, as we said.
I agree.
Thank you. We move on to the next application, or rather the last application, but not least, which is in Bowden, and it's 0868.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. There's a couple of continuing themes here. Number one, it's a school and traffic. And number two, which isn't actually in the light reps, but it's in the very, very light reps, which means I didn't get it until this afternoon. The Environmental Health Officer has recommended a construction management plan. On the basis that it's adjacent to existing residential property on the one side. And he is suggesting working hours shall be 8 AM to 6 PM Monday to Friday, and in this case 8:30 AM to 1 PM on Saturday. And they're working on Sundays and bank holidays. So if you're not happy with Saturdays on this one, I think you better say now, really. Anyway. As you'll see, the Parish Council support this application from the late reps. We didn't actually have their comments at the time we prepared the original report. And the other points to make is that it should be a 3-year start, not a 5-year start, which is what it's accidentally been put down as. The proposal originally, as it was submitted, included a scheme, an in and out scheme at the front to try and deal with the issue of dropping off traffic at the school, which has been a major issue, but the Highway Authority objected to that in and out arrangement, so that is now withdrawn from the proposal, and it just now remains the proposal to build an extension on the back of the round building there, which is the school hall. So 2 classrooms on the back with some ancillary facilities, covered playground area and staff parking to the front there of the extension as well, sorry Maria, to the front of the extension, which is accessed by that new driveway outside, which you see there running along the left hand side of the drawing. So you've seen the elevations already quickly, we've got some photographs. We've got no objection. As I say, we've taken the highways advice on board, and that's why the in and out arrangement has been withdrawn from the front of the site, which will now remain solely for staff parking.
You'll see again from the light reps, that does seem to be one of the major concerns, and I know that's mentioned in the parish council comments as well as by individuals. I mean, all I think we would say on the in and out arrangement was it was kind of it shows you a circulatory system, but it doesn't have that many car parking spaces, and I think the national experience now, it's a local problem, but I know it's got some publicity in the national press recently about the school and the parking problems it generates. But certainly in the afternoon pick-up time, the parents tend to arrive early. And again, I've seen it with my own eyes, but the traffic is all down the one side of the road on this road going back halfway towards Malton to the edge of the village. So not only is it inconvenient for residents, but usually I'm trying to drive past to go to Malton and it's impossible to get through really, so I can understand the frustrations. But as a professional, I have to go with my professional colleagues at the Highway Authority who have said you cannot have that in and out arrangements, it will not be acceptable to the Highway Authority. So that is no longer on the table, it's just the extension. Everybody pretty well has supported the extension in principle anyway, and they accept the need for that. So it's a difficult one, but I think on balance we can't see any reason to refuse it, and unfortunately we're just going to have to try and see if there's another solution. The solution we're suggesting is travel plan, which apparently there was a travel plan started in 2008, but it hasn't actually been reviewed, but they've obviously been prompted by this application by the case officer there again, and who's pricked their consciences and said, well, what have you actually done about the travel plan? And said, yeah, sorry, we kind of forgot. So they've promised us now that they will endeavour to sort out the travel plan. And as you'll see, there's a condition on that they will do that. And we've also, Maria's reminded me, we are referring the issue to the joint action group, which involves the police, will look at matters of highway issues and things like this. So we have raised the issue with them as well. So really we think we've done all we can do at this stage, and on that basis, with the amendment of the three years, not 5 years, and construction management extra condition, it's recommended for approval, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Two speakers. Mr. Greatrix, Parish Council.
Thank you, Chairman. I wasn't aware that I'd been accepted as a speaker, but can I just say that the Parish Council has considered this in great detail and listened very carefully at the last Parish Council meeting to the objections that were raised by a number of the residents in Malton Lane regarding the traffic. That seems to be the only fly in the ointment, because the addition of the 2 classrooms will allow the school to have one full form entry of 30 pupils, up to 30 pupils per year group, and they'll then have the room for 7 classrooms, which is a much better arrangement than the one that they have. The concern that the Parish Council had was about the traffic movements, and I find it difficult to understand the highways stance, because if you're getting traffic off the road, then I would have thought it made it easier to manage and would have made it safe for the children. When the parents and carers and grandparents drop off in the morning, it is fairly restrained, because from sort of early on before 8 when they have the breakfast club right through to 9 o'clock, people are coming intermittently, they're not coming constantly all together. The main problem that the Parish Council saw related to the congestion in the afternoon, and we sought assurances from the school that they would look at this, and they have suggested and agreed that the principle of staggered opening times would have a material effect on that, and if that is then introduced, then certainly it would mitigate the concerns that the parish council had. But we did approve the application and would support the expansion on the educational improvement grounds that will lead to a better quality of learning for the children. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Archer, the applicant.
Good evening, Chair, good evening, Councillors. My name is Paul Archer, I'm head teacher at Daventry Primary School. Daventry Primary School is a successful school, and the staff who work there do everything they can to do the best they can for the children. We're passionate about what we do. Consequently, we are one of the top 10% of schools in the whole country and the county, and one of the best schools in terms of results at MQ Stage 2 over the last 3 years. The school is an important institution in the village. Our success has led to 100 plus applications, year in, year out, for 20 places. Independent appeals have forced us to take children in excess of what we actually should do. This has led to our children working conditions around about 20% below where the minimum standard of space that people should be. In 2 classes, we've had to remove radiators to squeeze additional children in. Health and safety has become increasingly an issue, plus the pressure on staff. In addition, at the moment we have 5 classes for 7-year groups, and this has always been educationally suboptimal, with mixed-age classes leading to stress on the children and parents as some are splitting their peers as they have to stay in the same class for an additional year in Key Stage 1 and an additional year in Key Stage 2. Our proposal is to alleviate space issues, which is health and safety, and to move to 1 class, 1 year, which is educational ideal. We become a 1-form entry school. As an academy, we applied in the most recent highly competitive funding round, and thankfully we were successful. We have plenty of space on the ground to build extra classrooms and remodel the working environment without impacting on the expansive outdoor facilities for the children. Our original travel plan went some way to taking cars off the road and is currently being revised and revisited in consultation with NCC Highways, the police, parents, locals and the parish council to help manage the impact of additional children. Given the current ratios of cars to children, we estimate an additional 20 cars or so over the next few years. However, be assured that we are doing everything we can to ensure a limited impact of traffic along Malden Lane in the village. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Local member, Councillor Frenchman.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, obviously we fully support the expansion of the school. As the parish council have pointed out, the main sticking point is the traffic management. I think the travel plan is a robust one, and I think NCC need to be told what is required rather than suggesting that they know best in every single factor. I think the school needs to be more robust in its approach to how it wants to handle traffic in the village. But I'm also guessing that quite a lot of villagers actually drive themselves and they need to be persuaded to walk or use other transport methods as we've tried to do in our village. I think the JAG will probably be a benefit, and I think that's a good idea, and they can bring a more robust approach to the traffic management. And I think it is beholden on the school and the head teacher to try and force the issue to make sure that there is some relief for the residents and other people who use that road at a very busy time. But apart from that, I'm happy to propose the officer's advice be accepted.
Thank you. Do you have a second there? I'll take Councillor Paul because he's indicated he wanted to speak anyway, so you can speak now, Councillor Paul.
Absolutely happy with the advice, Chairman. Nationally, we're short of primary school places, and I totally accept the need. It looks a tasteful design. I am absolutely gobsmacked that the highways have said you can't have an in and an out. I don't think there's a school, primary school in the land that doesn't have traffic problems every morning and every night. And as already been said, mornings when it's staggered, evenings there is a different problem. I would welcome an in-out situation at Ashbyfield School in Daventry, but the highways deem that it's not necessary to have an in-out. When a child gets killed, you know, God forbid I use such language, but when a child dies, then perhaps they will do something about it. There was a suggestion of staggering, you know, the opening times, or in theory that's okay, but when you've got two children, one at one school and one at the other one, it doesn't work out. I'm happy to accept officers' advice. I would like to support the head teacher and anybody else that's spoken with regards to highways. I think they should see common sense. And with regards to Saturday working, I think as the condition in seconding the approval, I would like the condition of Saturday working be removed. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Paul.
Consistency.
Councillor Livingston.
Yes, just to say I was very pleased to hear that the head teacher will liaise with the police and also, I'm sure, with public health for trying to encourage the walk to school program, because with our children spending more and more time in front of computer, it's very important for them to stay fit and not to put on weight. Thank you.
Thank you. Two more speakers, Councillor Patchett and Councillor Randall.
Thank you, Chairman. I just remind my colleague that each application is judged on its own merits. With regards to Saturday working, this is a very small project compared to the one that we've just looked at. And if you get it, there are occasions when, I mean, I do work in schools occasionally, and to go on Saturday morning while the children are not there is very advantageous in this particular case. And there's really only one property that's going to be affected, or maybe two that's going to be affected, and they're not being passed off the main highway. So I've no problem with Saturday working on this particular application. Chairman will support the application.
Thank you. Councillor Randall.
I was going to say exactly the same thing, Chair, that when schools have any sort of extension done, it's generally done in holidays. I'd imagine that may be done in the summer holiday. They've got 7 weeks to get that work, or 6.5 weeks to get that work completed, and they would be working to a very tight time schedule. So, you know, on a small application like that, I would be happy for them to do Saturday working.
Well, it makes opposite the school, and anything that's ever done is, like you say, it's in school holidays or it's on Saturday. Yeah. Okay, we've got a proposal that the officers of advice been accepted. That's been seconded. All those in agreement, please show. That's unanimous then, isn't it? The application is approved. That concludes the planning committee. Thank you for coming.